I never got it, why'd you have to go? I guess this world's too slow for you. I think there's beauty in the gray, the cold, but you just want the gold. And there's no way I can beat it, 'cause I got no chance, no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough.
Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey. Hope you're doing well. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're not, please consider subscribing. We'd certainly appreciate it. We get a lot of email, and quite honestly, it almost all falls into one of 3 or 4 categories. It's not possible to address complex subjects in a 7 to 15 minute video. It's just impossible. It's also it should be related that there are exceptions to all rules as well. So we started thinking about how to answer some of these questions, and what we decided is that we're going to create a playlist for those particular topics, and that way you can just watch them leisurely, and in addition to that, you can get a much more thorough answer. One of the biggest ones that we get questions about is purchasing land, property in the Philippines, buying a home, buying a condo, buying land and building. So let's start with some of the generalizations of that. Contrary to popular belief, there are ways for a foreigner, individual, without a Filipino partner or spouse to own land in the Philippines. And I'm not talking about leases, but it's possible. And we're going to go into that. Okay? But I'm going to warn you right now, when we get to that, it is complex and it is expensive. It is expensive to the tune that I certainly would never do it. It just would not ever pay off. But it is possible. All right? And we'll explain to you exactly how that works. Is it possible to own a condo in your own name? Yes, absolutely. It is. However, when we go into that, we're going to try and talk to you about the difference between a front page title and a POA. And this is something that if you're considering buying a condo, you need to pay very strict attention to some things. And that is one of them for sure. For some individuals, especially for what's called a REIT, a real estate investment trust, it works well for them. For others, it may certainly not, buying a POA condo title. Purchasing land requires expert advice. And when I say expert advice, I'm not talking about an attorney. I'm talking about a real estate attorney with a proven track record. Someone that has completed many real estate transactions. And we're going to go into that. Finally, we're going to go into all of the little side issues in each one of those areas. But each one of those is going to be a topic all in of itself because it's complex. And if you want generalizations, you're going to expose yourself to risk. You want precise information. You deserve precise information. No way that we can really say anything other than that. Finally, I would caution you that you need to actually do a cost benefit analysis, just like you would in trying to figure out a business, as to whether the purchase of property is even something that is worthwhile to you. Now, I would say if you're like many expats and you're married to a much younger partner, you owe it to her and to yourself, and I would think it would come naturally to you, that you would want to leave her some sort of benefit in the future when you're not around. I'm not talking about this so-called alimony argument and things like that, but if you take many typical Filipinos, the opportunity for them to own anything of substance is somewhat limited. You're furthering that and you're creating generational wealth. So let's talk first off about land. Land is one of the biggest questions that we get asked. Okay? What do you need to do? Okay, without a doubt, you need to find an expert real estate lawyer. And that lawyer needs to have experience. And do not be afraid or ashamed to just point blank ask them, how many transactions have you completed in the past 24 months? Do not be afraid or ashamed to ask for references. I mean, that's just the way it is, because you need to recognize there are two things here in the Philippines, too, that from the US and from the UK and from Australia, and I'm not familiar with other countries, but I know that it works like this in both the UK and Australia. There's no MLS here, no multiple listing service here for you to look at and work on bringing forth a negotiation point on pricing. The second thing that you have to look at here is free and clear title. So let's start with free and clear title. I would say that more than anything, you need to first figure out where you want to build. So if you want to build, now we're going to make this assumption that it's you and a Filipino partner that are buying this land, because unless you are, quite frankly, a millionaire, all right, a liquid millionaire, the option of buying property without a Filipino partner and owning that property free and clear is financially out of reach of most. And we'll go into that. So first you figure out where it is you're going to be. You're going to be in this province, you're going to be here, you're going to be there, wherever. A general area. The second thing you do after that is you start researching lawyers with real estate experience in that area. Now, when I say in that area, I'm talking about within a 2 or 3 hour drive, maybe even 4. And then you're going to ask them, would you represent me in the negotiation and purchase of property? And if so, what would your fees be? Number one. And then number two, More important to that is how much experience do you have in this? Now, they may be very reputable, be part of a large firm. So you want to make sure that, are you going to represent me, or is this going to be represented by one of your younger associates or less experienced associates? Or is this going to be something that is going to be handled by a paralegal or someone that is an assistant? You need to clearly define these terms when you're talking to them. But let's say, for the sake of what's going on here, you've decided where you want to be. And let's say you have found, through multiple avenues of research, a good real estate lawyer. And don't be in a rush to do this stuff. It took Arlene and I, when we bought property, a year to get through, and we knew where we wanted to be. And we knew within several kilometers of where we wanted to be. Okay? It took us a year to put all the checks and balances in place to purchase land. So you've figured out who your attorney is going to be, and you've figured out where you want to be. Now you have to find land. And that is something that I'm telling you right now. It should not be by reference. And when I say by reference, I mean you need to physically go there and look at it. In the Philippines, it's not uncommon for 20 different people that are friends of friends, friends of relatives, relatives, to be advertising the same piece of land and representing the same piece of land for sale all over Facebook. Well, they're all doing it because they get a commission. The seller has said, hey, if you find a buyer, I'll slip you XYZ. That's just the beginning of it. You need to go and physically look at what people are offering. That's the first issue. Your lawyer's going to tell you the second issue is, before you even begin negotiations, you need to see a title to that land. And that title to that land will have the survey on it. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is where almost half of all the big mistakes are that happen in expat real estate transactions. Real estate here can be handed down, and it may not have any sort of legally binding adjustment to it. In other words, people could have lived on that land for 4 generations, but they don't have a clear, clean title. They may have a deed of sale, which would absolutely mean nothing in court. It'd be easily attacked in court. Okay? So you need to make sure that there's a title for that land. And the second thing you need to make sure of is that in that title, it will tell you what the geophysical location is. The latitude, the longitude for marker front, back, side. It's going to give you the ley lines of the property. The third thing you're going to need to do, more important, your attorney should tell you this. If your attorney doesn't tell you these things, keep shopping for another attorney. Now you're going to need to spend $300, $400 at most, a licensed survey company to survey that land that you went and physically looked at. Okay? Because what's on the title may not match what Auntie Sarah showed you is for sale. You know, she could be off by 20 feet. Oh, yeah, it starts over here at this palm tree, goes back to that line of palm trees. Those are inaccurate measurement tools. You need to know exactly where the coordinates are for the land that you're going to consider negotiating for. Where do you get this information to make sure that it's correct? Now, in the Philippines, we have cities, municipalities, provinces, and regions. Okay? There are, I think, 11 regions in the Philippines. And the recognized government offices for each one of those regions are in the capital city of that region. So, for instance, where Arlen and I were looking at property, or where we did look for property, was in the city of Kitcheneree in Mindanao. Well, Kitcheneree exists in the province of Agusan del Norte. But Agusan del Norte is in the Carga, Caraga, I think, region. And the capital of the Carga region is Butuan City. So your Register of Deeds, the ROD, where you will transact all of that paperwork for a true transaction, is going to take place in Carga. In Butuan. It is very simple just to go to the Register of Deeds and ask to see the deed to this land. Here's the owner. Here's the location. Can I see a copy of it? I want to make sure it's clear and clean, because it's their responsibility that they will always have the most recent deed available. Because the other thing, other than not having an MLS, is the Philippines does not have title insurance. So these are the things that you look at before you even begin or get your attorney to start negotiations. In the next video, we're going to go through capital gains, sale taxes, okay? Because if you're from America, capital gains is a term that's used differently here. We're going to also touch base in the next segment on how you are, or what is expected for a absolute letter of sale, and then the transaction of the deed itself. And finally, we're going to get into the fact that if you're a millionaire, a liquid millionaire, all right, how you end up using the Foreign Investment Act to actually own land. And this is something that's relatively new. I think it was in 2022 that it was amended to allow you to do that, but under very strict rules. But it can be done. What we're not going to go into is leasing land and then lease backs. And we're not going to go into generational land that doesn't have clear title. Not going to go into that because I just don't consider that relative to a secure investment, risk-free, or at least lower risk. And we're not going to go into it for the fact that we don't have experience with it. We only talk about what we have experience with. So look, hey, Arlen and I are on Buy Me a Coffee. If you'd like to contribute, please feel free. Otherwise, the link is down below in the description. And otherwise, we would really appreciate you hit the subscribe and the thumbs up. And if you want to be alerted for each one of these videos that's going to join this playlist, then hit that notify button so that you get notified. That being said, we hope you're having a great day, and we look forward to expanding on this and your comments. Please, your comments are super important so that we make sure we cover what it is that you may not be aware of. We don't want to accidentally leave out something because we consider everybody knows it. So make sure you comment. Thanks. Have a great day. Be good.